What's up everyone, this is Trying to Kill Toys, back with another review. This time, taking a look at the new Storm Collectibles King of Fighters 2002 K or K-Dash. This has been one of my most anticipated figures in a long time, maybe like top 5 most wanted characters in action figure form. So this is one of my favorite video game characters of all time, and like in my top 10. But it is Storm Collectibles, so I was kind of skeptical about how it was going to turn out. But it's actually really good. So enough of the intro, let's get right into the figure. First, we'll take a quick look at the box. Something that's kind of unfortunate is the artwork that they featured here, which is not what the figure is based on. The figure is based on like that more realistic artwork. I'll put pictures of it so you guys know what I'm talking about, but this is not that same kind of artwork. Same thing on the sides of the box. You know, it's less realistic, a little bit more anime looking, but on the back you got pictures of the figure and some of the accessories, which are really cool. Another cool thing about the box is that it does have a pretty cool insert of the stage. This is like, and then one more thing we have to take a look at before we look at the figure is the accessories the accessories that's included with the figure. And we have a lot of accessories, a lot more than normal, I think. And it's just a better selection of accessories and effects than some of the other Storm Collectibles out there. Now we'll look at each accessory. So the figure does have a total of 3 heads, all with swappable hair pieces. So here's neutral expression. The front of the hair is removable, so you can swap it out with the other ones. And you can tell from the sculpt and the paint and the detail that there's just a lot more effort put into this figure than some of the other Storm Collectibles figures, especially the female figures like Morgan and the Mai figure. The Mai figure is really bad. This kind of proves that they're charging more and putting less effort. And here, this figure was less. This was like 90 bucks or 80 bucks on the Big Bad Toy Store. And this figure just looks a lot better. Like, it makes those other figures look really bad in comparison. The third head sculpt, which I've already put on the figure. Again, we have a different front hair piece. 1 pair of glasses, which is a little disappointing. I would have liked to have more than 1 pair, just in case, you know, you lose these ones or they break, because you do have to keep swapping them out to put on the different heads. A little bit annoying. And then the glasses have a reddish tint. And I know in some pictures you can see his eyes. Sometimes it's just like a solid red lens, so maybe they could have included an alternate glasses accessory that was the more opaque, with the more opaque red lenses. This was in a separate bag on top of the box, like on top of the box that the figure came in. It was still inside the box from Big Bad Toy Store. And this is like another alternate hairpiece. It's slightly different than this one. So just a pretty minor difference, but they still included an extra accessory, still under $100. It's cool that they're giving this figure, this character, that kind of treatment, but at the same time also makes you feel kind of ripped off because they didn't put that same level of attention to detail, and, you know, including more accessories and just having an overall better quality figure. There are a lot of hands included. This is for holding his glasses. There's a little bit of sloppy paint work on this particular hand. We also get thumbs up, and that's for both the left and the right hands. And then a relaxed hand, a open hand, another different kind of relaxed hand, and another. So you get a lot of options to display, and then you get the same kind of hands for his gloved hand, his right hand. And pretty good detail on this hand as well, on all the hands for his right hand. And you get kind of the same style of posing. So all these hands are really good. Really impressed with the quality here. Again, for under $100, just about under $100. So that's all the hands. And then we also get a few fire effects. So there's one for his fist, one for his foot, and I believe this is the one for his fist. So it's a little bit shorter in length, but so it is shorter in length, but it's that same translucent plastic that we've seen previously with other accessories. and I'll show you how it fits on the figure in a second. Then we get another one for his foot, so for his kicking moves. And this one's a little bit longer, kind of has a different arc, but still the same style of accessory. So those two are really cool, and those two accessories also help with standing the figure up and balancing it, so you don't really need a stand. Final accessory is this accessory here. So this could be used for a couple of different things. He could be holding this in his palm, or this could be a part of his kicking move where he kicks a fireball at you. But there's no stand to hold this up, and there's no hole to, you know, plug a stand in. So you just got to get creative with different ways to kind of use this piece like that. Still cool that they included it though. Now we'll take a look at the actual figure. So we'll look closely at the detail of the figure. And again, the quality and the detail is really nice. There's some dry brushing with a little bit like a light blue kind of color over his suit. The shading, the dry brushing is everywhere. So even on the back. And then you got the printing of the phrase, a beast of prey. It just looks a little bit off center, but it's not that big of a deal. You also got the zippers painted silver. You have the belt. And again, the back of the pants has that same shading on it. The shoes, you got brown soles. Pretty cool shoes. That same weathering on the shoes as well. There's a little bit more shading on the knees. The buckle details, which is really cool. And the two buckles again on his right leg. Gold on the belt, the studs painted silver, his cross necklace. So everything looks really good on this figure, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's just a cool design. It's a sick looking figure, sick looking character, sick looking figure. Really happy to have this figure, and I'm really happy that it's not a piece of garbage. But we'll take a look at the articulation. And like always, I'm going to be honest, there are like one or two things that kind of bother me, but it's pretty much what you'd expect from a Storm Collectibles figure. So the neck is just a giant peg with a ball on either end, and so there's an assembly inside the chest behind the silicone rubbery material here, so you can move that whole assembly back so he looks up that far. It looks a little bit weird, and then you can move that whole thing down so that he looks down that far, not creating any fractures or stress marks on there or cracks or anything. And then of course you can look left and right, full 360. It doesn't get a whole lot of movement from that ball joint up there because it is kind of small. You get a little bit of tilt, but you can also tilt with that neck joint. It is pretty stiff, and I don't really recommend like pushing too hard on it. But that's where you're going to get your tilt from as far as the neck goes. Now the shoulders, the same deal. You can shift them up, shift them down, and forward and back. Kind of acts like a butterfly joint, but it's not really a butterfly joint in there. Then it hinges up pretty far. The rubber jacket doesn't hinder any articulation. You can sort of get it to come across his chest, but it doesn't really stay there. That's where the rubber jacket gets in the way. Bicep swivel is all the way at the top here, and it is very tight, but you can get some movement out of that. Not really the most useful place to put it. Then the double jointed elbows, where you get a little bit past 90 degrees. Then the wrist articulation is just a hinge and a ball joint. Pretty good articulation out of that. Now with the abdomen, here's where I have kind of a problem with the articulation. So it's like this rubber material on top of another rubber kind of material. So when you move the upper torso forward, you do get these folds in the jacket, which are natural. Something you have to watch out for is when you bring the torso down, it could catch on that lower torso right there, so you got to be careful. And then you also get tilt from that upper joint, and it does swivel as well. And the lower torso is similar, forward that far. Both joints are going to get you that much forward, and then back, you're going to get that much back. And then you get a lot of his stomach showing, which is accurate. There are some times when he moves a certain way and you can see his stomach a little bit more. That's just a part of the style, it's a part of the design. And then of course rotation and tilt. So the whole torso area could have been a little bit different, but that's kind of just like a typical Storm Collectibles style setup. But then we get down to the legs here. So they come out very far. You can do the splits and they kick forward very far. There's no hindrance. then you can also kick back. And then the swivel is at the thigh again. I'm not really a big fan of how these are set up. It's a little bit restrictive compared to just a ball joint and a socket. There's like 2 hinges in there, and it's on this ball, but it's not like a ball joint articulation. It's just like a swivel. If you like squeeze his legs together, you want to avoid that because you stress this part of the joint right there. So again, they could have engineered that a little bit better. And the knees, similar to the elbows. This kind of joint looks better for the elbows, in my opinion. Doesn't look that great as far as the knees are concerned. Ankle is hindered a little bit by the bottom of the pants. There's no rocker. Toe articulation, big ugly cut out right here, but it is sort of functional, and the hinge is also tight. Because of that, it is functional. So for example, you can do simple walking pose, and you can see his back foot is on his toe. But I think that's really cool. You can do a lot of cool poses with this figure because of that. And like I mentioned earlier, there's no stand included, but you don't really need it. And you can also stand up the figure while using the fire effects. So you kind of got to mess with it a little bit to find the sweet spot, and it just looks really sick. With the effect for his fist, works kind of the same way. It doesn't reach the ground though. You don't really need it to though. You can still stand him up and do some cool poses with it. And with this fire effect, it kind of takes a while to find out how it fits into the hand exactly, but once you find it, it looks really cool. Then you have another stand to put the other fire effect on. I just put it on this Revoltech stand, a little bit of tack. Now it looks like he's doing that one move where he kicks the fireball. So now I'll do some comparisons. And first thing I want to compare next to is my failed custom. This is my Marvel Legends K custom that I abandoned a long time ago. So this was the body that I was going to use, and I never found a head sculpt that fit. I was just going to sculpt the hair and then put some glasses on him. But I had, you know, like the belts on his arm and on his leg, and I had it painted black, and then I dremeled this out, resculpted it, and I was going to make his skin darker to be accurate, but never got around to finishing it because it was just a lot of work. I think it was not long after they announced that Storm Collectibles was coming out with a K figure. But what I did finish was my Kula custom, another character from King of Fighters. So this is also made using Marvel Legends, and I know it looks pretty bad. If you're familiar with the character, you can tell like who it's supposed to be. Hopefully Storm Collectibles will make a Kula figure, even though they probably won't, and if they did, probably not going to be that good. So here it is next to a couple of other fighting game characters, and here is King from the Bandai Namco line. K is obviously a lot taller, and they might remake him in the King of Fighters Storm Arena line, but it's probably going to take years before we even see anything from that. That isn't Street Fighter, at least. Speaking of Street Fighter, here is the Jada Toys Guile. So same thing, these are going to be a lot shorter. Here he is next to Ken, another one of my favorite video game characters of all time. Fighting game characters of all time, Ken, and he's another fire user. So you could actually use these effects with the Jada Toys can, or I guess the Storm Collectibles can if you have that. So it doesn't really fit that well. I had to take his hand off to kind of make it look like it works. And then if you wanted to make like a Jada Toys K custom, it is possible. Here's what the head looks like on the Jada Toys Ken body. You know, if you wanted to paint this up, put clothes on him or whatever, it is possible. I guess it wouldn't look too bad. Then here it is next to Jada Toys Chun-Li. So same problem. Here it is next to the Toon-Chi King of Fighters Terry. And if you know the problem I had with this figure, it's a totally different body. It's still pretty much the same height though as the original figure, but still shorter than this K figure. And I'm hoping when Toon-Chi finally gets around to making K, you know, they don't mess up like they did with the Terry, because I still have hopes that the line's not going to be completely bad, but who knows. We'll see when we get there. And for a larger scale comparison, here it is next to the McFarlane Batman. This is sort of my Kit Bash Batman. And still K is a little bit taller, but it's a lot closer. Another one of my King of Fighters customs. Here is, it's not totally done. He needs a slight touch up on the paint, but this is my custom Yamazaki, made with some Mattel wrestling parts. And it's not too bad, honestly. Like, I think it's a pretty decent custom, especially with the cloth in there. But still shorter than K, and I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be like a lot taller than K. Here it is next to the PW Toys Resident Evil 6 Leon. another one of my favorite video game characters of all time. Then last, and certainly least, the Mai Shiranui from King of Fighters. So the height isn't too bad, but I mean, look at the difference in quality between these two, especially if you own this figure, and if you can definitely tell the difference just from looks alone, but also just the feel of the figure. Like this K figure doesn't get that weird wrinkling in the neck when you move it. People were telling me that it was the way that I was handling the figure. Obviously this disproves that theory. You don't get that weird wrinkling with this figure. There's no issues with that rubber material whatsoever. And again, I have to point out, this figure was 105. This figure was like 80 to 90. I don't remember exactly. I'll probably put the price in. Like, where's the money going to? Where's the value? And the people that say like this figure is still good or the Morgan figure are still good, they're just clearly lying, because we know Storm Collectibles can do better. This proves it. And if you have another figure that's, you know, as good as this one from Storm Collectibles, we know that they're capable of putting more effort and more value into a figure while still charging less than a figure like this. But anyways, that's it for this review. Let me know your thoughts about this figure. I think it's a really good figure. Like I said, really excited to have it in the collection. Looking forward to taking all the pictures and stuff like that. Maybe put different clothes on it like I always do. That's all I got to say about this figure. So I'll see you in the next review.
Every kiss begins with Round one, fight! Round two, fight! Come on, come on, come on, come on!
You